Here we have a completed scene ready for the production of stills, movies and 360 panoramas. What I will be showing is how to get to this point via a number of steps using the intuitive and easily accessible tools available in Lumion. Before I continue, I should point out that this model was provided by Bond Bryan, or a UK-based architects with 5 offices placed around the UK. Now this is Lumion's build mode, which becomes active once you open up an existing scene like this, or you start a new scene using one of the templates. Build mode is where we compile our scene, and we do this using 4 easy to find tools on the left. We have weather here, landscape, materials and objects. Notice as I clicked on each one there was an expansion on the bottom here of further functions we can do within that control. Now whenever you do anything in Lumion, the feedback is instant. So if you have a look at the weather, for example, I can change the sun direction. Notice the instant feedback. Move to dusk by changing the sun height. Nighttime. And wind it back. Change the cloud coverage. Brightness. And finally the cloud formation. On the right we have our tools for producing our rendered output. We have photos here. We have a set of photos ready to be rendered out. We have movies. And finally we have panorama, which is where we produce our 360 panoramas and VR panoramas. Finally I'll go back to build mode by clicking here. What I'll do next is go through a series of steps of how we get to this stage from the point of importing our CAD model. Here I've started a new scene using one of the preset environmental templates in Lumion. This is now ready for me to import my CAD model. Here I'll select it and place it in my scene. This happens to be an ArchiCAD model, but Lumion does support most of the commonly used CAD programs today, such as SketchUp, Revit, MicroStation, ArchiCAD, Allplan, AutoCAD and Rhino. This CAD model is complete, but we do have many users using Lumion who align it to their BIM process. What they will do is take their model into Lumion at the early conceptual stage, and as decisions are made and the design matures, they use the reload function in Lumion to update their Lumion scene. This will retain any materials previously applied, any people, cars, and any other objects you've placed in will remain intact. So it's quite a nice way to visualize your designs throughout the BIM process. We'll now look towards bringing this scene to life with a number of processes. The first one will be to add materials. Now the CAD model has been loaded into Lumion, I can go straight to the material editor and start to address some of the materials. As I hover over each face in the CAD model, it highlights the name of the material which was assigned at the original CAD end. So here, for example, we have asphalt. I'm going to select that and apply an asphalt material. Same over here, different type of asphalt. We'll assign an asphalt material there. We have a brick wall, and I shall assign that material. I'll now move to some of the glass textures here. I'll assign some material to the glass. Another one here. As you'll see in the material library here, I have a number of templates. Just a matter of selecting the one you want. We even have some textured glass here. What I'll do is select the default material as I did before with the other glazing, and here I'm going to change the colour of it. Change the opacity, wind down the influence of the colour, and also change the frostiness of the glass. And we'll save that. Here we have some concrete. And here as well. Accept that. You can also add your own custom materials by selecting the image you wish. Lumion will then automatically configure the normal map or the bump map, which adds some relief to the material and therefore more realism. Once you've completed a few projects in Lumion, you may want to use the materials in another scene. What I'm going to do here to fast track the process of adding the materials to this is actually load an existing materials set which I've previously saved. So we go here, go to our material sets, locate our material set, and then load that. Here we find materials that we used in a previous project. Press the tick, a few seconds, and the scene is updated. I'll accept those. You can now see how the scene is starting to come to life. If I just move around a bit, you can see some of the other materials we've added. Here we have some water. Let's move over here now. And we have some grass. Before I move on to sort of adding objects to my scene to add further interest, I'll show you some neat tricks here. So if I go to landscape, I can turn grass on, which turns this pixelated grass into 3D grass. Here, as per normal in Lumion, you have simple controls which are obvious and easy to find. So I'm playing with the grass height, the grass size. We can change its wildness. And also, if you wish, you can add some artifacts such as weeds, change the spread if you want, and maybe the odd stone. I'll now look at enhancing our scene by adding objects. We'll start with trees. To start adding trees, I'm going to move to the objects area here, onto nature. This will then open up the nature library. We have a vast array of tree types, plants and flowers here. You could manually select the tree type you want, or if you have a particular tree in mind, start typing the name of it. I'm after a grey birch. Then you select the particular tree you want and place that in your scene. As I place successive trees, notice they all change slightly in rotation and scale. This avoids the problem of having a line of cloned trees, which essentially will spoil your visualization. The other option to save time is to place a number of trees using the mass placement tool. Notice again they will look slightly unique. Change how many you want. Maybe you want to randomize the spacing or offset them from the line. If you want, you can actually add more tree types into that mix. Let's just randomly pick one here. Then once you're happy with your placement, you then accept that. Notice the trees are high detailed, and also they're gently swaying in the wind. This is a nice touch in Lumion which helps to bring your scene to life. I have now completed the task of adding trees and plants to my scene. There's one more feature I should show before adding further items such as people and vehicles. If you find that you've got trees obscuring a building, or you want to look where you want more focus on the building and less focus on your planting, what you can do is select your trees. So I'll just do that here. And you can change the transparency. This helps to draw more attention to your design and less on things like trees. To add some further context to the scene, I've previously added some surrounding buildings. These I've placed on a separate layer up here. I'm just going to turn those on, and here we have them in place. I'll now add some cars, so I'm going to move towards this parking area here and get a good vantage point so I can actually start to populate the cars. So we go to the transport category, pick a car, and as for the trees, I use the mass placement tool. I'm going to use that again here and place them along a line. These are all the same vehicle, but notice how Lumion has made them unique. So you have different colours there. I'm going to add some other car types within the mix. Maybe the odd sports car, and so on. Accept that. I'll place another line. Now, once you've actually placed a line of cars like this, you can actually rotate a few using the simple editing tools here. And maybe delete the odd one. Now the scene has been populated with vehicles, planting and contextual buildings, it's now time to add some people. I'll go to the people and animals category, open up the library, and here you'll find you have different types of people. We have 3D people here, we have 2D people, these are the equivalent of cutouts, and you have silhouetted people. I'm going to start by adding a few 3D people. The people that look like they're walking will actually walk when set along a path, so I'll pick him, put him here. Add a few more. We'll have her in the distance there. So the 2D people here. Once placed, these will always face the camera. And these are your ticket to getting ultra high definition and people in your scene. Should you not want the high level of detail in your people, what we can do is go to the properties of the people we place, and you can colorize them and turn them to silhouette. The same with 3D people, in fact. I'll just select those. And we can turn those to silhouette. People have now been added to the scene, and if I pan around now, you can see the change in our scene from importing the CAD model to this point. Very simple processes. And now at the stage where I can look towards producing some rendered output. The first thing I'll do is head over to camera, which is where we produce our stills. Navigate to your desired viewpoint, and then capture. We'll go to one more. and capture. If you're not happy with a particular capture you've taken, you can always redo that. So I'm going to move in a little closer and maybe round a bit. And redo the shot. Once I've compiled all my vantage points and shots, I could render out the images as is. But Lumion actually has some very powerful tools to further enhance these images in the form of effects. Let's have a look at some of these. Here I'm in effects for the camera. One thing I might want to do with this particular vantage point is go to 2D perspective. I'll turn that on. May need to adjust the image slightly so I can fit in what I want to see. Another effect, if you're working at the conceptual stage, you could turn your render to a sketch. We can play about with the colouring, accuracy, sketch style, simple sliders. If I move to this one, choose whether you want perspective or not. But one thing I can do, although we have default sun settings in build mode we looked at earlier, I can override that for this particular image and choose a different sun height. Other things we can do, we can add depth of field. You may choose a different ambient colour for your settings. Here we have the colour analog lab. In the default scene we have these clouds here. These are pixelated clouds, but I can actually add some volume clouds. These are 3D clouds. Quite nice to put these in, because what they will do is cast soft shadows on your scene, which helps to add a little bit more realism and breaks up the hard edges. Now I've added a number of effects, it's time to actually render my image. I'm going to go for the desktop resolution here, and we're going to save that in the desired location. And off we go. Bearing in mind we've got a lot of reflections, high-res trees, complicated shadows, lots of people and cars. It's a very swift render, as you could see. Let's find that image. There we are, job done. I'll now head over to movie mode, which is where we produce our videoed output. Here you'll see a number of slots at the bottom of the screen. These are vacant and ready to be occupied by either a movie. This could be a rendered Lumion movie or actual video footage of your site. You can insert images. This could be rendered Lumion images, could be photography. You could have your own company banners or project information. And the final one is where we use tools in Lumion to create our own movie. Creating a movie in Lumion is a very simple process. You choose your starting point, so I'll just navigate to a suitable place and take a photo. You then move round to another vantage point, take another photo, another one, and stop at your final vantage point. We can go back and edit these, so maybe move out a bit more, up a bit, and refresh. Same with here. And here. And here. Then press a tick to accept. You can then play back that movie. Notice how Lumion is smoothed in between the photo shots we take, giving you a nice smooth experience in real time. As in camera mode, where I used effects to enhance my stills, I can apply effects in movie mode to do the same. So if I loop this movie through, I'll add a few effects. 2D perspective, I'll turn that one on. I can override the sun set in the template. Again, notice the instant feedback. You have your desired end result. And once you're happy, you can then save your movie as an MP4. I've now taken this a step further. I did render out the movie in the previous screen. This took 15 minutes. Then I inserted the final movie here. I then placed some rendered stills from camera mode, which we were looking at earlier. And then I added transition effects from Lumion to see a smooth transition from still to still. Here is the end result. I'm now in panorama mode. This is where I can produce VR panoramas for Oculus Rift or Samsung VR Gear, for example. Or I can go to my Lumion, publish my 360 panoramas, and then share those panoramas with other people via an emailed link. Once your viewpoints have been rendered in my Lumion, you receive this notification. You can view straight away your 360 panoramas in your internet browser. You'll also receive an email notification carrying the link which is highlighted above here. This can be distributed to your clients or anyone else who wants to view your 360s. I'm going to go to the browser here to show you what we'll receive. Here we have the first viewpoint. I can navigate it with my left button on the mouse and freely look around. I can turn on viewpoints and look at any other viewpoints I've configured. Go straight to there, and again, freely look around. This is a great way to share your ideas because the file is very small. It can be viewed on a mobile device such as a smartphone or a tablet, and also any internet browser, whether it's a PC or an Apple Mac.